resolution, or rather an agreement stemming from our midterm review, we will be receiving a briefing on the Master Skills Plan and on legislation in the post-school education sector that is currently outstanding. I believe we are joined by the Minister, Bladen Zimande, who I can see on the platform. And we have received an apology from the Deputy Minister, if I'm not mistaken, Anele. Can we also check what other apologies we've received, Anele?
Good morning, Chair and honorable members. Chairperson, I've not received any apologies from the members. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Anele, for that. We now will be moving on to the presentation. I think, Minister, when it comes to the Master Skills Plan in particular, I think there was a lot of excitement coming from the midterm review to hear about this consolidated plan, considering how, firstly, I mean, when you look at unemployment and you look at the investment of our government into education, there is, I guess, at some point at this juncture, and particularly, I guess, looking at industry, one always wonders when they say that we don't have the requisite skills for them to take in our young graduates, then what skills do they think we ought to be providing? And I think that also speaks to whether the Master Skills Plan will look into consultation with private sector and other spaces of industry. When you look at various government departments doing their own audits of skills that are needed within their sectors, this Master Skills Plan can really assist us in having a more consolidated approach as a government, as a country. So even when we look into curriculum and what we should be offering in the CET program vis-a-vis in the TVET program vis-a-vis in the university program, will the Master Skills Plan be able to assist us in better shaping the curricula in these different programs of the department? I think those are some of the really exciting, elements of the Master Skills Plan that we would like to hear about. And then, of course, with legislation, we did not also get to that particular discussion during the midterm review. And so we would also like an update from yourselves on where we are sitting as a department. So not saying more at this point in time, I think we can hand over to the Minister, who will then lead the delegation from the department. Thanks, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Ms. Nompenduro Mkhatshwa. Let me greet you, and also let me greet the honorable members of this Portfolio Committee. Let me also greet all other participants who are part of this process today as observers. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Chair. The presentation, I'm going to be handing it over to the DG, who will possibly also hand it over to the relevant officials just to take you through these two main issues that we have asked us to come and present about today. Firstly, the Master Skills Plan, and then secondly, our legislative program. So I'll cover both in my introduction, Chair, because I think also even in the presentation, they just come one after the other. Of course, we will decide how we discuss this. Also, thanks for your understanding for asking to be released just before 12, as I have to go and finalize preparations for this afternoon's question and answer session, which is another very important platform where we are expected to account to Parliament. Let me just start with the Master Skills Plan, Chair. The Master Skills Plan will be explained that the objective really is to bring together a whole lot of plans that exist that have got an impact on our strategy to provide skills in our country. There is something that is contained about skills in the National Development Plan. We also have the National Skills Development Plan, which is required by the Skills Development Act, which also guides mainly the seaters on what is to be done. And then we have got enrollment targets, by the way, which are a very important part of skills planning. People tend not to sometimes appreciate the significance of enrollment plans in our institutions, the universities and our TVET colleges. For instance, if we say to the universities, we're going to be expecting you to produce so many engineering graduates this academic year, that's part of skills planning. Okay, there may be other factors that actually affect that. And then we have got other important inputs into our skills planning, which is our overall economic plans of government. At the moment, for instance, we have got the Economic Recovery and Reconstruction Program. We did some extensive work on the skills implications of that and what we need to do. Now, we also have got the industrial master plans that are being led by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition. And also there are other realities that, by the way, impact on our skills plans. The output from basic education, for instance, does impact on our skills planning in quite a fundamental way. If we want to produce so many engineers, artisans, and so on, that is shaped also by the numbers of matriculants who come out with 60% minimum maths and science. So given all this, Chair, we have now then said, if the plan for the fifth administration is to actually focus on priority skills amongst other things, let's try and pull this together into a master skills plan. In other words, a plan that tries to bring together all these things under one plan. And of course, the nature of the plan will be such that what we will be talking about are iterations. It possibly will be a plan that will, by that I mean, different versions that you will have to have. Maybe we'll have to update it yearly or after 2 years or after 3 years. That's the work that we're actually going still to do as we develop it, so that as things change, we are also able to actually adapt it. Like the Industrial Policy Action Plan has iterations, for instance, because things do change. But we are planning to produce the first iteration of a master skills plan by the end of this financial year, and thereafter take that to cabinet, hopefully then for adoption. So the purpose, therefore, is actually to bring together and have one country, one plan, one master skills plan. It's got challenges. It's not an easy process to bring together all these elements that I've outlined and in a dynamic and forever changing situation. And also we'll be producing this at a time when our economy is not in good shape at all. And we must be conscious, therefore, that our master skills plan is not patched just only informed by an economy that is down, but also will have to anticipate, hopefully, some growth and development in our economy. Now, the other matter that I just need to say by the way of background, Chair, is that one of the key issues that the Master Skills Plan will have to incorporate, and it must be embedded in it, is the relationship between formal training institutions and workplaces. That's the single biggest weakness that we still have in South Africa. The other day, we invited you to a DHET Industry Summit, which was aiming at trying to bring industry together with DHET colleges and closer. You can't have vocational education without that partnership. You can't have production of technologies through the technologists, through our universities of technology, without a close university industry partnership, for instance. Now, we hope also that this will bridge this anomaly. Sometimes you get people from industry and say, yeah, Nzimande, the kinds of graduates you are giving us are not up to scratch. But many of those graduates, in order to be up to scratch, especially from DHET and universities of technology, require workplace exposure. So industry can't just criticize government unless it says, this is how we are going to come in and partner. So that will have to be a very crucial component and dynamic of a responsive master skills plan, that relationship. So what we are going then to be doing today is just to outline the process. Because the other thing, as I say, Chair, the process will have ultimately the real master skills plan. Then when we develop it, it will have to be approved by cabinet. We are still in very early stages at the moment, but we just thought you requested us. Let's share, no matter how early we are, so that at least you get a sense of where we want to go with the process. Obviously, also, as part of developing the master skills plan, we'll have to do some international benchmarking. What do other countries do, especially those that have got relatively successful skills planning or skills production that actually respond to their economic needs? We will have to look at a few of those countries and say, what is it that they are doing well and what can we learn out of that? Of course, without just mechanically copying. So that's the introduction to the master skills plan in terms of the presentation. It's a process that we are outlining. It's not content today. It's just the process of what we actually want to do. And of course, the portfolio committee is welcome to make some comments. On legislation, Chair, also what I would like to say is that there are two pieces of legislation that we are immediately dealing with right now. Is the central application system, CAS, as we call it, which we will have to legislate if we are to bring it about, which is one of the commitments that we have as this government, that we need a central application scheme. The arrangement, central application system. I'm thinking of NSFAS all the time, Chair, so scheme is in my mind all the time. It's a central application system so that we make it easier for our young people. Like it's happening at UKZN. They've got that province, at least your higher education institutions have got that. So that you make one application as a student and not applying to many institutions. We need to legislate for that. And also the other piece of legislation that we are dealing with is the National Qualifications Framework, so that we make sure that we've got an aligned system. But I do need to say, Chair, upfront, that given the amount of work that still needs to be done and the time it also takes to finalize legislation, you know this better as Parliament, we may not be able to have this legislation passed during the 6th Parliament, in which case then those matters will have to be picked up anew by the 7th Parliament. But on our side, we will continue to prepare and to do as much work as possible as the department as you will get the briefing, some of this have been consultations already about draft bills, and so on, as we are actually shaping it. And we are then going to continue with that. But we can't absolutely guarantee that we'll be able to go through all these processes during the 6th Parliament. But we'll continue to do the work, because even the new Parliament, when it picks up on these things, at least there would have been some groundwork done by the department. So I will hand over then to the DG chair without taking any further time. And to thank you very much for giving me this opportunity just to introduce this. I will then hand over to Dr. Sish, who will then indicate how the presentations will be made. Thank you very much, Chair, and honorable members.
Thank you, Minister. I don't seem to, okay, there we go. I think DG's mic is open now.
Thank you very much, Chair. Allow me to take this opportunity to recognize the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee and all honorable members of the Portfolio Committee present, and thank the Minister for providing a very clear indication of the status of the presentations that we are making today. And we appreciate this, Minister. Thank you very much. Allow me, Chairperson, to just make a few remarks before DDG Gasa commences with the presentation. Firstly, that when it comes to the Master Skills Plan, as the Minister has indicated, the mandate or the policy mandate for this work emanate from a couple of pieces of legislation that are important for us to share with you, including the National Development Plan that directs us to improve systems for skills planning and shape the production of skills. And I think, therefore, this provides the context and explain much clearer what are the broad frameworks that frame the work that we are doing. The white paper on post-school education and training asserts that better intergovernmental coordination will be required to support policy alignment and the implementation in a differentiated system. This, again, empowers our department to work with other government departments in ensuring that we attain the policy mandates emanating from our white paper. Going back to the National Plan for Post-School Education and Training, that is calling upon for the establishment of a clear and streamlined roles and responsibilities of key stakeholders and role players involved in education and training, as well as the medium-term strategic framework that commits our government to adopting a demand-led skills planning approach and thus developing a priority skills plan. All of these provide the mandate for the work that we are presenting today. The Minister, in his opening remarks, has provided us with a kind of a problem statement that explains the purpose of the work that we are presenting. And there are two key issues emanating from the Minister's input. One is the socio-economic challenges that we seek to address. And in slide 4, we provide some of them. The list is not exhaustive, but it captures the key areas that we seek to address. Despite, of course, the second statement being the organizational problems that we seek to address. And again, in this regard, Chairperson, we provide a set of organizational issues, most of which the Minister has covered in his opening remarks. We are looking forward, Chair, to working with our counterparts across all government and state-owned entities, including working with our stakeholders in putting together the plan for this country, one plan for one country, as the Minister has indicated. We are looking forward to this conversation, and we thank you for the opportunity, Chairperson. Regarding the second issue of the legislation, I think the Minister has covered sufficiently all the issues which I would have loved to raise with you. Allow me, with your permission, Chair, to kindly ask DDG Nolwazi Gasa, the DDG for Planning, Policy and Strategy of the department, to lead the presentation.
Thank you, DG.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister, honorable members of the Portfolio Chair Committee. I would like to appreciate the opportunity to table the Master Skills presentation and apologize upfront for my voice. I have a bit of flu, and I hope that I'm audible and stop a little bit to ensure that I am as audible as I would like to be.
We can hear you, DG.
Thank you very much. May I request, please, that my presentation is loaded so that I can begin? Thank you very much. If it can please be put on slideshow. Thank you very much. Chairperson, with your permission, I will try to be very brief because I believe that our minister has foregrounded the presentation, and also ably the DG has also made some very critical opening remarks. And mine then is to just zoom in on some of the key points that perhaps would need to be emphasized. In the main, the baton that we have been given as the Department of Higher Education and Training has been the request that we come up with one country, one plan for one country. This is work that we were given by the minister following a discussion that took place in the interministerial committee on science and innovation, and it is work that we're very excited about, and we intend to share with you the process that we will be following in developing this master skills plan. Next slide, please. In the main, the development of the master skills plan will follow a number of process steps, and as the minister indicated, when I make this presentation, I will take you through solely the process. And one of the critical steps for developing the master skills plan will include the development of the concept notes. And so in the main, the concept notes seeks to guide, steer, and frame the development of the master skills plan and achieve stakeholder consensus on broad areas and the approach to the master skills plan. Next slide, please. As the minister indicated earlier on, the National Development Plan does talk about the need for having important systems for skills planning and shaping the production of skills that our country needs at this particular moment. And then our white paper, as the DG indicated, speaks about better intergovernmental coordination that is critical for supporting policy alignment and implementation in a differentiated system. And then the National Plan for Post-School Education and Training assets and calls for the establishment of a clear and streamlined roles and responsibilities for key stakeholders and role players involved in education and training. And the medium-term strategic framework that we are currently guided by commits development to adopting demand-led skills planning and approaches, and specifically talks about a priority skills plan. Next slide, please. The problem statement that we respond to, and I believe that we all share in this room, is the fact that we face quite a lot of socioeconomic challenges. We spoke about this, for example, we've spoken about this, for example, the socioeconomic challenges that we face. For example, the low levels of education attainment in our labor force as a country are cause for great concern. The existence of skills shortages and the need for importing skilled labor is a cause for great concern for us, and the mismatch between skills supply and demand is a matter for great concern. On almost everybody's lips right now is the matter of skills mismatches, the high numbers of underqualified and overqualified workers, and mismatches between qualifications and occupations. Public perceptions about the quality of basic education is also another huge matter of concern, and the high levels of inefficiencies in the system because of high levels of dropouts, repetitive and low throughputs is also a huge concern. This also seems to be happening largely because of a high proportion of GDP on education and training. And our view is that we are well placed as a PSAT system to work with other stakeholders to address the above mentioned challenges. The next problem statement is mostly according to organizational challenges. There are gaps in services with very few limited expertise in terms of the bringing together of national, provincial, and government departments to deal with skills. And there is a duplication of services, and with a number of bodies playing similar roles. There's a wastage of resources. There are silo operations across the board. There's possible overreach in terms of functional mandates, and there is lack of policy coherence and alignment, and there's cause of concern regarding absence of composite and comprehensive countrywide data and information. And unfortunately, there are indications that there's no centralized place to look at the amount of money spent on education and training. And it is our intention that we have an HRD strategy that is revisited to deal with the above mentioned challenges. Next slide, please. Our intention then is that as the PSAT system, we work with many stakeholders to ensure that there is one plan, one skills development plan for one country, and that we provide a well-coordinated and focused mechanism to address imbalances of skills supply and demand in South Africa. The plan, together with associated processes and structures, is expected to bring about coherence, rationalism, and improve the efficiencies of the skills planning and delivery system in the country. It will clarify institutional arrangements that provide clear leadership and responsibilities for key elements of the skills system. We intend to ensure that the plan serves as an anchor for good practice and a pledge for political and collective will and commitment. We intend to ensure that the plan builds on existing national skills plan. The minister mentioned quite a few of these, that we have got a plethora of plans, both development oriented, some economic oriented. And our intention is that we use these to ensure that we direct the skills planning regime in South Africa, and we ensure that there is better coordination. The next slide, please. There are certain research questions that we will use the process to answer. For example, what are the current gaps that exist in the current skills planning regimes? What problems is the master skills plan expected to solve? What is the nature and extent of skills planning at national, provincial, and local levels in South Africa? What are the key skills needed for economic and social development? What is the nature and extent of the imbalances between skills supply and demand? What are the reasons for imbalances between skills supply and demand in South Africa? What kinds of interventions will best address imbalances between skills supply and demand? What principles and pillars will underpin the interventions? Who will undertake the interventions necessary? How can skills planning and delivery be optimally coordinated and rationalized against across the country to improve effectiveness and optimize the use of state resources? How can the public and private sectors work together to better respond to imbalances between skills supply and demand? Chairperson, this is more like the diagnostic part of the process that we'll be following, which the minister and the DG referred to. The principles for the process of developing the MSP will be the following. We will seek inclusivity. We want to bring on board everyone, chairperson and honorable members. The process will include key stakeholders of levels of government, the private sector, labor, NGOs, public and private education and training. We seek uniqueness. We intend to ensure that we are unique, and then we want to ensure that there is clarity in terms of roles and responsibilities. We want to facilitate linkages with other skills plans and processes and integrate skills developments across all spheres. We want to be comprehensive. We want to keep this short and simple so that it provides a focus on key issues to be addressed. Monitoring and evaluation will be very critical to enable reporting mechanisms. We want this to be smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Next slide, please. The approach to the development of the master skills plan, as we've indicated, is going to be a phased approach. We want this to be driven by an evidence-based approach to skills planning as opposed to an arbitrary or opinion-based approach. Secondly, we want this to be undertaken by the DHET Labor Market Intelligence Research Program. It will be undertaken in 2 phases. Phase 1 will include the stakeholder consultations and review of documents and the diagnostic work that I've just referred to. Phase 2 will include the development of the countrywide master skills plan, and also according to the SEA's work that is led by the presidency. And then the master skills plan will be developed as an implementation plan for the reconceptualized HRD strategy of South Africa. Next slide, please. Structures to guide the MSP development process will include the Human Resource Development Council Standing Committee on Skills Planning. As honorable members are aware, the HRDC is chaired by our Deputy President and supported by our Minister, Dr. Clayton Nzimande, and includes all stakeholders across the country who are involved in all matters pertaining to human resource development. And then secondly, the Intergovernmental Forum on Skills will provide inputs to the MSP process through its representation on the HRDC Standing Committee on Skills Planning. Next slide, please. Thank you ever so much. I hope I was not too quick and that I was audible. And I wish to thank the portfolio chair and honorable members, the minister, the deputy minister, the DG, and all colleagues present. Over to you, portfolio chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm worried. I don't know if it's my network that's bad. Your side as well, or is it just my side?
It's your side, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Mananiso. I will change devices just now. Can I ask that we, DG and Minister, can I ask that we move on to the next presentation on legislation, please?
Yes, Chair. If that's what you prefer, we are fine. We do not have a problem. I had already done the introduction to these pieces of legislation, and these presentations are going to be very short because also we are not at the stage of dealing with contents of bills, but we are dealing with the process of developing these bills so that then they can be formally tabled in Parliament at an appropriate time. I think that it's still DG Nolwazi DG who is doing this, or maybe the DG wants to properly then introduce that. Over to you, DG. With your permission, Chair.
Yes, you may go ahead, Minister and DG.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will hand over to DG Kasa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much, DG. DG, I had invited, with your permission, Advocate Kuta to please take us through at a high level through the legislation. But as Minister had indicated and DG, the request was that we keep this at a high level. With your permission, DG, may I ask Advocate Kuta to take us through the high-level legislation work, if that's all right, DG?
You're welcome.
Thank you, DG. Advocate Kuta, are you here? Seeing as she is not here, DG, maybe then let me take the House through the slides. May I request that the slides be flighted, please? May I request the slides to be flighted on CAS and NQF? They are part of the Master Skills Plan.
You have any problem, Mr. Mkiba?
It's about 4 slides.
Sorry, DDG, I don't have the slides on my side. Could we ask maybe Annele to assist, please?
All right. Apologies to put you on the spot. DDG Mvalo, might you have them?
DDG Kasa is the same presentation. If the one who beamed it can assist us in re-beaming the same presentation, because it's your
It's
last
right on the
slides.
slide.
Indeed,
Yes.
yes. I thank you.
Yes. May the old slides be beamed, because it's right on the same slide.
Sorry, DDG Kasa, the one I used did not have the part on legislation. DDG Mvalo, maybe if you could assist from your side.
Chair, can I just come in with your permission? If we are not having this, have we not circulated it to the members of the portfolio committee so that we do not waste time? If we can't load them, at least we can talk to them.
That is.
Okay. Sorry, Chair.
Yes, yeah, thank you.
That's fine, Minister.
Yeah, thank you very much. If I may proceed, Portfolio Chair.
Yes, DDG Kasa, you may continue.
No, thank you very much. As the Minister and the DG indicated in their opening remarks, there are 2 pieces of work, legislative work that's currently in progress. It's the Central Application System, and it's also the National Qualifications Framework. Following the midterm review process, the discussions with the portfolio committee were that it would be advisable if the department had a table the discussion on the legislative work and the policy work. So we requested that we table the legislative work, and then at a later stage, we table the policy work. And as the minister has indicated, we are tabling the Central Application System work. And what we have on the slide right now is an update of work in progress regarding the Central Application System work. And we are giving an indication of progress to date. Number one, the fact that given work that's been done so far, the Central Application System work has been tabled at NEDLEC for discussion further, because the intention is to make sure that this is made, given it's important, that this is taken to legislation phase. And then the other intention is for this to be initiated at a pre-parliamentary submission process. The main issue is that there is a pre-parliamentary report on the draft bill 2023 that's been received by the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor. And then the department is finalizing the review of the draft bill based on the pre-parliamentary report. What we felt we should not include at this stage in time are internal processes in terms of structures, progress to date, structures and progress to date that's been enabled by the department to fast track this work that has taken some time. But indeed, a lot of work has taken place in this regard. For example, at least on a monthly basis, there's senior management meetings taking place on the casework, and then a progress report has been taken to NEDLEC as indicated there. And as mentioned there, this is used to also engage stakeholders at NEDLEC and resolve any issues that do come up and need to be resolved, and that is taken in tandem with the parliamentary work that is being resolved. Next slide, please. Now, the second slide, slide 14, I believe, is really around a bill plan that seeks to give a particular breakdown for the dates that we have gotten in plan. Perhaps it's my age here, but it's a draft that we've got in plan for intended dates that we've got for when the bill will be taken through for feedback from the minister, public comments, parliamentary processes, and when that's going to be taken through in terms of being taken to the office for the chief state law advisors, receiving the legal certificates, all of that culminating in a CS certificate as managed by the DPME in the presidency, the draft cabinet memo, the review thereof, and then once more being taken back to the cabinet memo. The next slide, please. And then the next slide is also around similar matters being taken through the cluster back to the cabinet memorandum, and then right through to the parliamentary process, taking us to December, the end of December 2023. Next slide, please. Then the next one is the, excuse me, I think we might have gone a little bit too fast. The National Qualifications Framework. This one, as the honorable members are aware, is a very critical piece for the PSET system. It's also one that's been in the drawing for some time, and is critical for the framing of the qualifications in the PSET system, and amendments have been made for quite some time. And the quality councils have also played a role here as articulated in our, yes? Okay, and quality councils have also played a role here, working with us as the department, and the intention is to also fast track this. The next slide, please. The first draft of the amendment bill has been developed and circulated among stakeholders, as I mentioned earlier on, SAQA in particular, and Quality Council. This has mostly
Sorry,
been...
DHET Gasa, can we ask that we all mute our devices, please?
Thank you, Portfolio Chair. And the further comments on the first draft have been received and are currently being considered by the department. The department is also busy developing the legislative plan. Next slide, please. I think this is the last slide. Thank you very much, Portfolio Chair and all honorable members. This is where we're at this point in time. As indicated by the DG at the last midterm review, our plan is to table as soon as possible the policy work of the department for consideration and discussion with the portfolio committee, bearing in mind global, continental, and national developments. And at this point in time, the guidance we've been given is that we do this as a collective and primarily led by the planning branch and fully supported by the office of the DG. DG, I'm not sure whether maybe I might have left anything out. Thank you very much.
Okay, I can't see DG coming in. So, Minister, I believe we can now open the floor to members for their engagements. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or are you fine?
I'm fine, Chair. Let's rather have an interaction with the committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I see Honorable Mananiso's hand has already gone up. Can I note other hands of members, please? Perhaps as we wait for members to indicate their interest to engage, from my side, Minister, when it comes to the skills plan, I think for now, if one can just bring forth some recommendations as on how we go about the process, I think it would be very important that definitely industry and private sector is included in these conversations, given, I think, what I alluded to earlier on to say, it can't be that we as government invest in education in as much as we do, yet we don't have young people being absorbed by industry. And of course, ours is not solely to have young people being employed, but also to create young people who can be employers, can be entrepreneurs, who can start companies and so forth, and businesses and so forth. But we know that there's a lot of us in the system need to take responsibility, including industry. So I think, yes, definitely the conversation that we started to have, or not started, because I mean, conversation has been ongoing, but part of the conversations we were having at the DHET Industry Partnership Summit did allude to this. And to be honest, the numbers are not in terms of industry playing their part and coming on board and being part of the consultative processes of government saying, well, these are the skills that we want to harness young people in. What do you think as industry? I don't think that, we are where we would ideally like to be in terms of that, right? And so I really think that particular stakeholder is very important to consult with. And I mean, we are aware of the resistance and I don't know how to say it, but the starachness, the slow pace that is there. And maybe it needs us to have a collective voice as members, as individuals, as citizens in the country, of saying private sector needs to come on board in terms of the social compact that the president always speaks to. So I think firstly, that's a very key stakeholder that we need to have. I mean, a lot of what I'm going to say are recommendations, right? Because we are in the process of creating this master skills plan. And okay, then perhaps let me go to a question quickly. Do we have possible dates for phase 1 and phase 2 of this particular process? I think phase 1, sorry, I just need to go up in my notes. Phase 1 is mainly stakeholder consultations and review of documents, I think. And then phase 2 will speak to the project. Phase 2 would involve the development of the countrywide master skills plan as the completion of the socioeconomic impact assessment system. So do we have dates for possible dates for phase 1 and phase 2? I think it'd be very important that our plan looks into conversations around artificial intelligence, particularly in what we like to stress when we engage with the DSI, on strengthening a digital and e-government. Yeah, strengthening an e-government. I mean, we've had this conversation with NSFAS and SASA and SARS and wanting that interface to happen much quicker to ensure that, young South Africans don't have to perpetually prove their indigence. And there have been strides that we have made in the NSFAS system, but it's not where we want to be. But I mean, we envisage this e-government at a greater scale where, across government departments, if I'm a young person who wants to apply for funding, to start a business, to do whatever, the moment I put my finger on, I don't know, some machine at whichever department, it captures me and understands, it gives a background of who Nompendulo is, etc., etc., etc. And I really think the type of skills that we need to be having need to be able to strengthen our government to be more efficient and effective, and truly deliver to the needs of the people. And I think we can look into how a strengthened e-government system can assist with that. Of course, we can't have this conversation in isolation to the energy sustainability that we need, right? Because how do you have, you can't even speak about ICT without speaking about energy. You can't speak about e-government without addressing the first two, right? So that also then pushes us as a sector to have to incorporate into our skills plan, into this master skills plan, a response or skills that will aid us to respond to the energy, the lack of energy sustainability, or if I want to call it an energy crisis in our country. And I think, Minister, you yourself have alluded to how, you know, this particular moment where we have a lack of energy sustainability creates an opportunity for us as a sector to respond. You know, so I think we also need to be very clear in responding to that in the master skills plan. I think it's important that, in line with the view that the sector is responsible for everyone post-school, I'm of the view, comrades, colleagues, that apologies for that, honorable members, that we have a huge crisis in terms of our public servants, and how the policies of government translate from elected leadership all the way down to public servants, the cashier who's literally dealing with your Home Affairs application, who's dealing with your license renewal, and so forth. The policies are very clear, but the experience of citizens on the ground is very problematic. And that, for me, creates an importance for us as a country to look into what skills we need to provide to strengthen the Batupili ideals of our government. Minister, I don't know what the relationship between ourselves and the National School of Government is, and how do we, within this master skills plan, consider whatever relevant skills we need to provide to public servants in order to bring to life the policies of our country. Then, of course, the interface between the skills plan and curriculum. I think, DG, if you're on the platform now, and maybe, I don't know, from the moment we identify a skills shortage or skills need, and we say, okay, this is the skill we need to be providing in the DHET program, or the university program, the CET program, to the actual change on the curriculum and what is taught in the classroom, that time lapse, I think I don't understand it. I think I don't have an appreciation of how long that is supposed to take. Or from the process of where we identify it to say, okay, we will put it in, we'll incorporate it into the curriculum, and then to when it is taught in the classroom. Or when we say, for example, there's a particular qualification that is irrelevant, we keep saying that we are worried about the numbers or number of graduates in human resource management. But I don't know, maybe can we be brought into confidence on the process of getting to day zero? I mean, I don't think we want to eradicate the qualification, but we want to lessen the numbers, right? And what is the plan? What is the roadmap to that day where we say, okay, we're sitting with numbers that make more sense for our system, and therefore we're not graduating young people who we are concerned about where they will find themselves post certification. So I think one needs to just appreciate that also in the skills plan and how it translates to curriculum change. And then, you know, given of course the history of the CT program and the fact that it was part of the DHET program and it was moved and now as a standalone item, when I listen sometimes to, lecturers and colleagues in the CET program on the ground and what they envisage to be the CET program, I think that the master skills plan should help us to clearly articulate the interface between what should be offered through the CET program, through the TVET program, and through the university program. I think I will leave it at that for now. I see many hands have gone up. And yeah, I'll come back at a later stage. So I'll take Honorable Mananiso, Honorable Sibia, Honorable King, Honorable Mahlatsi, and Honorable Litie. Honorable Mananiso.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. Let me start by actually welcoming the presentations. And I just want to check if I'm audible, Chairperson.
We can hear you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Chair, let me welcome the presentation with a comment to say that one of the things that we are good at as government of today is that we are told that we are good planners, but we cannot implement. And I think I share the same sentiments with you to say that we're doing things on a slow pace. And one would want to comment to the team to say that, colleagues, it is important that as we execute this one country, one skills development plan, all of us, we are activists. I don't believe that boardrooms, they do actually bring what we would want to do as government. But, being out there, working on the ground, being all over, it will make us, fast track the process of ensuring that we bring the services to our people at that particular time when they need them. So it is important that we move at speed in terms of executing this particular project as we would want to execute it. Chair, I just want to recommend as well to the team to say that with the presentation that they have actually written the problem statement, they can have a template or a spreadsheet that would have from the problem statement to the gaps to what they think is the best solution to address those particular challenges. So I just want to recommend to them that perhaps in future they need to give us this particular presentation in a template form so that we are able to follow through if really what they have identified as best solution, it is exactly the best solution that would actually address those particular problems and the gaps. And I think, Chairperson, on the issue of phases, we need to have a specific time frame so that we are able to do our oversight and accountability properly. Because when it's only we are only told phase one, stakeholders consultation, it's so interesting, but we just want to check as well when will that thing be done. And I want to recommend that when they do the phase one, noting what the minister could have said in terms of the relationship between the workplace and institution issue, it is a very serious problem. So I just want for them to go out in terms of calling those who could have housed this particular interns without anybody intervening. Because I know when I was a youth coordinator, I would do some testimonials for specific students from West Coast who were seeking for in-house in certain institutions, and they would be asked to bring a testimonial from anybody who knows them, from prominent officers. So I would write those particular letters for those particular interns. And I understood that this particular process of, from institution to workplace, it is not properly coordinated. It is by that particular experience. So I'm very happy, Minister, that you have alluded on that as a problem, and you have noted it, that the solution is to have a better coordination of everybody working together to ensure that that particular part of skills transfer is actually properly coordinated in this particular plan. So I'm pleased about what actually you could have said on your statement. And Chairperson, the other thing that one would want to speak on is, I just want to check with the department if all that they could have planned prior to date, have they actually achieved those particular targets planned? And if not, what were the issues? Because we have taken note of dates on the plan of legislation processes, and as it were from today moving to 2023. But I just want to check if on those ones that we have passed those particular dates, have they actually achieved what they could have planned as an office? Let me go to my other questions is with regards to what are the risks that may inhibit the proper implementation of the MSP, and how will those particular risks be mitigated? Have all 21 cities aligned their annual performance plans to address these challenges in various sectors of the economy and country in general? If not, kindly provide a list of cities that have not done so. What are the budgetary implications for the MSP? And lastly, Chairperson, it's how will this implementation of the MSP be monitored? Because every time we are being told about monitoring and evaluation, but I think it's very rhetoric that we are told about that, but we don't actually see it happening as something that is so enforced in our institutions that people can able to account as it when the process unfolds. And lastly, Chair, I think from my side, as a person who has actually benefited through skills development programs, with what I have read through this particular presentation, I think this is one of the processes that it's good for purpose to ensure that we speak to supply and demand issue where there's an equilibrium between skills development and economic market. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mananiso. Honorable Sibia.
Thanks, Chairperson. Thanks for the presentation. Morning to everyone. I think regarding the questions which were tabled, I think we are waiting for the responses from the department with the recommendations to the public. It can be interventions, mechanism, the role should be played by the department. I think it will be easier to conduct with the public as a whole. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sibia. Honorable King.
Good morning, Chairperson and colleagues on the platform. Chairperson, I'm also just going to give some form of comment. I'm glad to see that at some stage there is going to be a master plan. It's something that we could actually say that at first we've always been putting the cart before the horse instead of the horse before the cart. Whereas this master plan should have come before all other plans and policies were in place to give strategic direction on the policy directive, and also to ensure that we streamline the skills development trajectory according to the master plan. But nonetheless, I'm glad it is finally here. Also, the main concern that we should also have is how as us as a country position ourselves in terms of our specialization and our niche markets, and do we still align most of our skills into that direction? Because at the moment you would find that in most cases, South Africa, our policy is trying to be all over the place. And with our skills, we're trying to be everything for everyone, but we're forgetting that we're supposed to have a little niche and a specialization. Like in the past, we were very well known in our manufacturing. We were known we were the first ones to develop the Roy-Krans airplane for the army. So those are the things that I think when they discuss it in the cabinet, they should be very clear on. Then also what I would like to say is, yes, this is going to be a more decentralized model, a centralized model. I would like to see when we eventually get another presentation, when they've developed it further, on how it will be decentralized into different industries with the CETAs, how it will be decentralized into institutions of higher learning, and also how it will be decentralized into businesses themselves, to get a clear understanding of how they're going to properly involve private-public partnership as well. Then everyone has been talking about the timelines and the processes. I would like to get that as well. The timelines, the budgetary implications, together with the timelines, stakeholder engagement, as well as when they are going to have a discussion with the Department of Employment and Labor into practically get them on board on the master skills plan to ensure that the critical skills list is properly adhered to. And lastly, how basic education would then filter into the whole system, because that is where most of our problem starts, that at the basic and foundational level, most of the learners or the cohort for the higher education and for the job market are not properly skilled on the school level. So I would like to see how that would then also be incorporated and also filtered into focus schools and schools of skill. So thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable King. Honorable Itie.
Yes. I'm sorry, Chairman. I was trying to open the mic. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you, Moran.
Thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to greet you, all honorable members. Welcome back, the Minister and DG in the motherland. Greet them as well. The rest of the team from the department. I think Minister and the DG and the team, maybe let me start by saying that we welcome the One Plan, One Country initiative. We really do. In fact, any other comment that seeks to suggest a criticism of some sort for bringing this plan into place, you can quote me, just ignore it. I think it's high time that we treat anybody in the country who seeks to criticize a progressive suggestion or a progressive initiative harshly so, because how do you want to criticize a progressive something? Sometimes, I mean, let's be serious. This is a progressive plan. I think, honestly, I've been covered greatly on the questions by Honorable Mananiso. You know, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because we grew up together, so she reads my mind sometimes on some of the questions. Maybe the one question, Minister, would be, whilst noting in your opening, I think of the second on the closing, you would have said obviously the presentations will be short because they are not dealing with the specific bills themselves, but the process of going into dealing with the bills. Maybe the question there would be, when do you think we can? When will this proposal be presented to Cabinet for approval? And how long will that process take, so that we are able to start with the second phase of this great initiative, which will be the bills? I think one thing that our government has been criticized on correctly might be that we take time sometimes to implement even the progressive things like this one. So what is it that can be done to shorten the period of implement or of moving to the second phase, which will be to dealing with specific bills that will bring this one plan, one country into life. I think that will be the only question. And I think on the issue of monitoring these things, I think Honorable Mananiso would have covered me, because that's another thing that we sometimes lack. We bring progressive things to the fore, and then we don't monitor, you know, their progression and all of those things, which might create a lot of problems for us and create unnecessary criticisms. I think there was a point where Honorable Mkhatshwa was asking. I'm not sure, Honorable Mkhatshwa, if you would have touched on this one, but I'm going to ask on it. The CITAS minister, with the one plan, one country, a great initiative. Have they aligned their APPs to address skills challenges in various sectors of the economy and the country in general? If they have not, maybe kindly provide a list of CITAs that have not done so, and probably maybe with the reasons why. Because I think if this one plan, one country comes from us, it should be, you know, entities in our departments, should be leading greatly here on this one. So the first one will be the issue of the CITAs. And then what is the budgetary implication of MSP? I know Honorable Kim was asking to that effect. Sorry. And maybe on the CITAs, again, would all of them be in a position to implement the MSP over and above alignment of the APPs? And if not, which CITAs may not be able to implement this MSP and the reasons thereof? And I think on maybe the monitoring part of these things is extremely important, Minister. And I want to emphasize, because Honorable Mananiso asked on it, how will we monitor these things? How often? And what will be the mechanisms that will be put in place to monitor and all of those things? Without wasting time, Chairperson, thank you very much, and good morning, and welcome, Minister, and the DG back to the motherland. Away.
Thank you, Honorable Litsi. Honorable Mahlati.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to yourself, the Minister, and the team from the department, and all honorable members and everyone on the platform. Chair, let me welcome both presentations made by the department on the legislation and on the Skills Masters Plan. My questions, Chair, or my first comment on the first presentation is that one would have hoped that the presentation gives a little bit of more information in relation to what is it that we're going to say, what do we need with this particular plan. I think it doesn't give much more information besides, you know, the bureaucratic processes. One does not get the meat out of it, you know. Ordinarily, if I was in another meeting, I would say, I don't get the politics of this particular presentation out of what we have been presented before us. So, however, one would accept and take note of the comments made by the minister and would therefore locate them within the presentation itself, at least to try to get where we are moving. While in as far as the alignment of skills, what is it that we are trying to achieve that has not been achieved within the current arrangement? And what will be the difference between the current status quo and what the plan intends to achieve? Secondly, the timelines. For us to, I've noted in the presentation, there were issues about network and so forth and so on. What will be the timeline that this particular plan will be, in place? And what has been the attitude of other stakeholders, including business and industry? What is the involvement of trade and industry in this particular process to make sure that we indeed, this one plan, one country becomes a reality, is something that we see, because all other stakeholders would have participated over and above the fact that they will participate through NETLEC. Chair, on the budgetary constraints, it's not clear how much will this plan cost? How will it, beneficiation versus cost? How will it benefit our people? And most probably because, but as a younger generation of members of parliament or of the movement or society, one would be biased to young people. How is it going to benefit young people at macro level? Because when we speak about skills, we tend to believe that people go to TVET be able to do work. But how do we expatiate at that particular level? To say you can create your own business and still grow to become entrepreneurs that can actually hire other younger people to participate in the mainstream of economy. That will be my question in relation to the first presentation. The second presentation on legislation, I just want to align myself with Honorable Mananiso.
You can continue, Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you very much. It will be on the timelines of the process, because we would want to exit this term as members of parliament having processed those legislations. I could see the timelines is 20-something, end of December 2023. And 2024, there will be elections. So we would want, if that is the case, let's stick to those timelines so that we are able to finalize those bills without necessarily deferring them to the 7th Parliament. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mahlatsi. Honorable Itie, is that a legacy hand? Is that a new hand?
Legacy.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Itie. Okay, can I just then appreciate all the questions from members, but also so colleagues, there are situations where young people enroll for qualifications, and I will speak from my experiences in the university program, where they enroll for qualifications, and when they enroll let's start it with the career guidance office, and then move it to the lecturers as you're going through the 3-4 years that you're there. And as you're going through this journey, you keep asking, so what exactly can I do with this qualification? What exactly can I do with this qualification? And you'd be told that you can do this, you can do that, you can do this. And these are often qualifications that aren't as clear as teaching or professional qualifications, like teaching, medicine, lawyers, CAs. So engineers. So you have this idea that the journey of employment will be quite clear. And then you start applying for internships, or you start applying for learnerships, and people can't appreciate the qualification that you're doing within their sector. So we apply, they'll tell you, no, we can't, there's nothing for you to do here. And I think it's a crisis that we have, and I don't know how. I actually think the challenge is on both sides. So it's on those who are employing, not appreciating the skill set that this young person can come with from the qualification they've done, but also not a clear, deliberate process of really aiding young people from basic education to understand what are some of the qualifications they would be enrolling or applying for. And I think, and that's really, I know many of us could have possibly done some qualifications for the sake of I must be in university in first year, or I must be in a TVET college in first year. I can't be sitting around at home doing nothing. And so you take whatever is available without an understanding and appreciation of what exactly this particular qualification could be skilling you with or for. And so that's really where we see an important conversation that needs to take place with basic education, but even with these institutions of ours in how we handle the application and enrollment process, so that we don't waste with NSFAS beneficiaries or those who are funded by the state, we actually don't have leeway not to utilize the limited resources that we have as effectively and efficiently as we can. So if we're funding a young person, we must be certain that this, or not certain, but to the best, we can't be 100% secure, but we must know that we would have given them the best counseling that they could get to ensure that they don't waste their time and know the limited resources that we have. And that's also, of course, appreciating the fact that no learning is a waste of time. It just goes back to what do you do with that information and skill set that you would have learned. So I think we need to do that, and also really applying a gendered lens to the master skills plan. That would be very important. To appreciate, gender plans of government in whatever our master skills plan will look like in the end. Minister DHET, Gasa, colleagues from the department, thank you very much for the presentations that you have made. These are the comments, questions, by and large, I think recommendations coming from members to say, as we're putting together this master skills plan, do take the following into cognizance. The gig economy, the digital economy that is booming, agriculture and need for us to have food security, the need for us to have energy security. There's a lot of conversation around the hydrogen economy. There's conversation we will be having on Friday with DSI around climate change. And so, with all these needs, socioeconomic development needs of the country, how does our master skills plan respond to this? Honorable King saying, what can we bring forth through our master skills plan, where we can say and be intentional and plan and say, this is uniquely South African, this is what South Africa is known for. So we're really excited, Minister, as Honorable Litsi has articulated about this one country, one plan. I hope I'm saying it right. I need to go back to that slide. I think it's one country, one plan. Really excited about it and what it really can do for our country. And of course, the implementation thereof will be very important. So thank you very much, Minister. And we'd like to then hand over to yourselves for your responses to the comments and questions of members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And thanks to the members, really, for all the comments, observations, suggestions. We really appreciate this. Perhaps the best way to do it, Chair, with your permission, is to perhaps suggest if the officials have got anything, well, they need to respond to some of these things, including the budgetary aspects and such things. And then I will just come in at the end, just to pick up on whatever they might not have responded to, or directly questions that were meant for myself. DG?
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members of the Portfolio Committee. I've been taking notes copiously to make sure that I don't miss out on the questions asked by the honorable members, particularly because this is a presentation of difference. We are right at the beginning, which means we'll be wiser for the advice that we are getting today. Thank you very much, Chair. I thought, Minister, following the line of your earlier remarks, opening remarks, that the purpose of the presentations is to alert the members of the Portfolio Committee of the path that you are going to be following, in this regard. Therefore, I feel that all of these questions must then be the guidelines for us from the Portfolio Committee, and that we are going to follow. And I don't think there is a point in us trying to answer questions, but it is to actually take these questions seriously and embed them in our plan. Honorable Chair, you make a point about the interface between the MSP and the curriculum policy of our department. A huge comment for me. And you could also further align it to the white paper on post-school education and training and other pieces of legislations and plans within this ministry. In my mind, I have the decadal plan that brings on board the issues around the hydrogen economy, which you have sharply raised, the gender lens, the issues around career pathing, the matters that deals with socio-economic and organizational matters, interface between different areas in the PSET system, particularly TVET and community education and training programs, aligning all of these to our annual reports on occupations in high demand, making sure that the plan is focused. And this is what Honorable Letsi says sharply. And may I, Honorable Letsi, thank you for your observation. I think we cannot underestimate the importance of a positive comment to a group of officials that are really passionate about their country and they want to make a difference. And if they get positive feedback and encouragement, it can actually, fuel much more progressive action. And I think we don't work expecting to be recognized for the contribution we are making, but when it happens, it is not business as usual. In fact, it warrants that we set higher standards so that we never disappoint. And thank you very much, Honorable Letsi. I will say, therefore, in that regard, Honorable Letsi, that the CETAs and the alignment of their programs, particularly or the macro plans to the APP, is crucial. And I think that is going to not only inform the planning, but is also going to inform the monitoring and evaluation processes of the department. And regarding the cost implications for the plan, this has been carefully considered. First and foremost, this plan is an intergovernmental plan. Therefore, the cost of the initial work, they are going to be borne by the budget that is already allocated to the department for policy making within the planning branch, which we have. But when it comes to issues around intergovernmental fora, that needs to be, established, we align ourselves with existing structures. For example, if you were to look into career guidance and how it is structured, you have intergovernmental fora that is funded by various departments that are part of the fora. But the Department of Higher Education, as a department that is a lead department, has to ensure that the resources, are available for monitoring and evaluation, for further research that is required, so that we keep updating these plans and align them to new and emerging, best practices and trends, not only within the country, also across the world. These are taken a note of, and we will be specific about the figures once our conversations with other departments that seek to indicate exactly what is the roles and responsibilities of each of the departments is going to be. You make a point, Honorable Mkhatshwa, around the involvement of the economic cluster or the departments in the economic cluster. And I wish to assure you that indeed they are involved, they are part and parcel of the process. And actually they've been right from the beginning in attendance of our meetings, which has involved not only national departments, but it has involved provincial departments, as well as some representatives of SALGA and local government. It's still very early, and the minister's comments earlier on are quite telling that this is the earliest stage of this direction we are taking. And therefore, Honorable King, your take around the issue of how we involve partnerships with the private sector, partnerships with institutions, partnerships with other role players that have an interest in the plan, is taken very well by ourselves. You make an emphasis on the specialization issues around this, and my comment around the occupation high demand, seek to try and say, moving forward in the department, we are really informed by the this issue of ensuring that the economic needs of our country are taken into account in the development of the plan, including our role as South Africa in supporting SADC and Africa in the implementation of Agenda 2063, as well as, of course, driving the National Development Plan. Honorable Mahlatsi's comments are taken very well, and they are particularly the issue of the beneficiation of young people of South Africa is taken as an important matter. We are working with the presidency. If you've noticed, the minister has established a very strong collaboration between our department and ministry with the Ministry of Youth, of Women, Youth, and people with disabilities in the presidency, and you have seen how we've collaboratively worked on the June 16, celebrations. All the work that was, all the displays, all the exhibitions that were there from the department is not what you have seen in the past. This is because we seek to strengthen the focus of that Ministry of Women, Youth, and people with disabilities on the issues that are important in our department. I would like Mr. Mvalo to just make a comment around the issue of the existing plans and how we're working to bring this, because this is what Honorable Sibia and Honorable Mananiso have raised around lessons learned from the work that we are doing currently, and how such lessons inform the planning so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. I think this is very clear, Honorable Mananiso. But I would like my colleague to just make a comment about this, because it is really, really important. I am very encouraged by the energy, of various government departments, particularly provincial governments, on the opportunity to contribute to the plan. This is my comment at this point in time, taking into account that most of the questions seek to advise us, Honorable Chair of the Portfolio Committee. You make a comment around digital economy, as well as the hydrogen economy, as well as you indicate how important it is that the decadal plan, is also taken into account in the finalization of our planning. Mr. Mvalo.
Thanks very much, DG. Very good morning to the Minister, the Chairperson, the members of the Portfolio Committee, as well as colleagues in our platform. Thanks very much once again, DG. Perhaps I just wanted to indicate that the challenge that is at our best as the country, this has been raised on a number of occasions, is unemployment, especially for those who do not have grade 12 or those who are having grade 12. Because if you look at 7.9 million of people unemployed in our country currently, about 6.5 million of them, they either have grade 12 or no grade 12. So it tells them, therefore, us as to where is the challenge, where there is no absorption or less absorption by our economy. So those are the areas that we need to be targeting on. The other area, DG, also just wanted to quickly comment on, almost all members have been raising the issue of the youth and gender lenses that we must be using. I was looking into, for example, into artisans that were produced by 31st March 2022. We produced in 19,536. I know in the prior year, we produced about 15,000. Pre-COVID, we produced about 24,000. Then immediately in 2021, we produced about 15,000. And now in 2022, we produced 19,536. So it tells us then, therefore, that the employers, they are beginning to open up their workplaces for training. And I should think also what is very important is what the minister has done on 1st April 2021, whereupon he has increased the grant that is given to employers who are hosting apprentices in the country from 165,000 to 206,000. It means then, therefore, we are assisting employers. We are calling upon employers to open up their workplaces. We are saying this is what we are contributing, or we can contribute as the Department of Post-School Education and Training. Out of that 19,536, Honorable Mkachwa and Honorable Mahlatsi, 14,682 are young people. 14,682, that is 75% of those artisans found competent by 31st March 2022. So it tells them, therefore, that our programs are very much targeting. Though if we look into women in particular, we're still lagging behind, because out of that 19,536, 22% are women. So it means then, therefore, it is the work that we need to be undertaking as the society in terms of encouraging women in particular to join artisanal programs. And we know there's a high level of absorption rate in our artisanal programs. Our own studies that we have done indicate that the level of absorption is 80% plus for all those who have participated or who have completed their trade testing. The issue, DG Minister, honorable members, that is being raised quite very strongly is the demand-led. Because to us, demand-led, hence we are producing occupations in high demand, critical skills list that we are working with the Department of Home Affairs, and even our own economic reconstruction and recovery skills strategy. We have identified about 105 occupations. All those occupations are demand-led. So it means then, therefore, our interventions must always respond to what is required by our economy. If we are to address a skills mismatch, which if we look into field of study as was cited, is at about 32.5%, that the skills mismatch in our country. Well, if we look into countries such as Peru, it's about 51%, Turkey is about 41.1%. So it's a challenge that we're faced with internationally, addressing the skills mismatch. Even at BRICS countries, it's the same challenge that is being dealt with. DG, in the main, we met obviously with the CETAs. That was in March this year. The DG, the minister, the deputy minister, with all the CETAs, one-on-one. So the intention there was to ensure that CETAs, as part of their planning regime, they are including occupations in high demand, critical skills list occupations, those occupations identified in the skills strategy to support economic reconstruction and recovery plan. So in our annual performance plans, starting from 1st April 2022, CETAs will be measuring them obviously against those areas to check as to whether their interventions are really speaking into demand-led skills which are required by our economy. So it's something that is quite very critical to all of us. I must also indicate that each and every CETA is required in terms of the Skills Development Act to develop what you call is a sector skills plan. If let's say it's a CETA that is operating within the ICT, let's say MICT sector, a part of the work that it must do, it must work with the industrial employers within that sector. to identify as to what are the occupations which are required within that particular sector. Then what they will do then thereafter, once they've identified all these occupations, they will have your top 10 occupations, and all those occupations, they are working with industry. In any way, I must mention that in each and every board of the city or accounting authority, about 50% is industry coming within that particular sector, as well as organized labor coming within that particular sector. That is why then, therefore, when they develop sector skills plan, at least you have people who are knowledgeable, who are experienced, who are eloquent in terms of that sector as to what is required in that sector, so that we can address those skills or occupations which are required in that particular sector. Then once that work is concluded, they will include that in the annual performance plan, because they will be having, as part of the annual performance plan, interventions that they will be using. It could be, there will be bursaries, the learnerships, work integrated learning, and so on and so on. But then obviously, whilst they are doing that, they also take into account other planning instruments, whether it's your occupations in high demand, skills study support, economic reconstruction, and recovery plan, critical skills list, and so on. I will then, I should think I will end there, DG, at this point in time. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mbalo. May I hand back to the minister if he so wishes to?
Yes. Thank you very much,
to make
President. I've taken over DG. I thought that you were done with the officials. Thank you to the Honorable Chair and Honorable members. Comments. I hope I'm audible. Let me just. Chair, I'm closing the video because I'm just seeing that my network is not strong. I hope I'm audible.
We can hear you, Minister. I think it was the DP's network that was delayed.
Okay, no, that's fine. Maybe just to wrap up, having, of course, acknowledged to say that thank you very much for your comments and suggestions. I just want to say, your comments are actually very helpful. That we may not specifically touch on some of them does not mean that they are not acknowledged or noted. And I think largely they contribute to assist us with the methodology in developing a master skills plan. For example, the points raised by Honorable Mananiso, if I can just use that. What are the risks? We can't answer that question now. What are the risks to a master skills plan? But it's an absolutely crucial question, which as we develop the master skills plan, we must pose and seek to answer. So the comments has indeed been very helpful. The first thing I'd just like to say is that the dates, at the beginning, I did say that I've asked the department to make sure that at least we produce the first version or the first iteration of a master skills plan by the end of this financial year, which means end of March 2023. After which then we'll be able to take that first iteration to cabinet, hopefully for endorsement or for cabinet to say, this is going okay, go and do some further work or whatever the case may be. But that's the plan, such that one can say that by middle of next year, we should have been having a version of a master skills plan, an iteration, that's a better word, that then we should actually be having. March, we produce it, and then within the following 2 to 3 months thereafter, next year, after March, we are then able to present it before cabinet. And then hopefully go public then about it. thereafter. You know, it may not be a perfect thing, but it would be the first iteration, which then, of course, will be enriched as we actually implement it. We are looking, Chair, at all the skills. I mean, the points you are raising about, for instance, the hydrogen economy, we are already asking the question, what kinds of skills would a hydrogen economy require? What kind of artisans? Or of the existing artisans, for instance, which ones may we need to retool in order to acquire what skills? Also, I will be engaging my government colleagues, other ministers and their departments, to be able to say what skills do they need in the sectors in which they operate. For example, Minister of Social Development may actually say, look, I have a huge shortage of social workers. I suspect at the moment she has the opposite problem, that she has got too many unemployed social workers, you know, that have been produced. But master skills plan for the auto sector may say, we are actually need so many motor mechanics now who understand electric vehicles, because that's the future, that's the direction that we are going. The DG mentioned the decadal plan. What are the skills implication of the decadal plan? So we are going to leave no aspect, no key sector and skills needs untouched. Which also leads me to maybe clarify this matter, Chair, that the master skills plan, we want it to be a go-to thing for anyone who is interested in skills from whatever angle, whether it's an employer who wants to employ, or whether it's an employer who wants to train, or whether it's a student who wants to study. It must be a go-to plan, which would also obviously guide sectors as well in terms of what skills needs to be produced. Now, it will have to contain, obviously, your critical skills, your scarce skills, and all that, which, by the way, at the moment, the Home Affairs list of scarce skills is produced by us, Chair. DHET, we produce it. The reason why it becomes a Home Affairs list is because then it guides Home Affairs on its visas for work permits, for instance. So, such that Home Affairs understands that if someone who has got such and such a skill applies for a visa, you know, if it is a scarce skill, we need to be encouraging those people to come across to our country to work here. We do work on that. It's not in competition, our list and the Home Affairs. We produce it. And then Home Affairs actually uses it for purposes of work permits. And importation, or facilitate the importation of scarce skills that we may not have. You are right, Chair, the issue of skills planning and curriculum transformation is very important. That is why curriculum transformation is one of our foremost priorities, Chair. The University Capacity Development Program has got 4 pillars, and one of those pillars is curriculum transformation. Because with new technological developments, curricula needs to be updated now and again and be aligned to the needs of the economy as well as to technological changes that we have. We are also undergoing extensive curriculum revision in our TVET colleges, really very extensive, that we are doing, and also even as part of the centers of specialization, so that we are able to produce the kind of skill that is needed today. So the issue of the relationship between skills planning and curriculum is a very important one. The master skills plan itself, by the way, we hope also will be able to inform curricula in our institutions in order to be able to produce the kinds of skills that we need. We welcome Comrade Honorable Member Mananiso and Honorable Member let's see, on also welcoming this. We ourselves regard this as a very important project, and we are glad if you are supporting it, albeit, of course, you'll be able to make your own critical interventions and suggestions. The issue of how it will be monitored is a methodological issue, as I've said. We will have to develop that. As we develop the plan, we will then be able to say with certainty, how should it be monitored? Reason for that being linked to the one comment that was made by Honorable King. Honorable King says, when will we decentralize this master plan? The master plan will have to happen at various levels at the same time, will have to be implemented at various levels at the same time. For instance, we would like to have district skills plans, for example, as part even of the district development model. By the way, we've started. I've asked the department to say, just as a pilot, can they start with the 2 districts where myself and the deputy minister are deployed as champions by the president, by cabinet? Just those districts, let the CETAs and our department just go zoom into those districts and say, what are the skills needs? And what, therefore, should be something that would be closer to a district skills plan in that particular district. So there's nothing, by the way, which stops anybody from doing that. But we facilitated that as government. Our Human Resources Development Council has been encouraging the formation of provincial human resources development councils. DDG Mvalo, if I'm not mistaken, 7 of our 9 provinces have their own human resources development councils now. And the 2 that do not have, we're encouraging them to actually have them, where you bring together all stakeholders to discuss human resources and skills needs and strategies to produce skills for each province. So there is nothing that as a master skills plan is a centralized thing. It will be a centralized thing insofar as it is a plan. It gives you a picture, of what the situation is like. But it will have to be implemented at various levels, right up to individual workplaces. So I thought that I needed to indicate that, because sometimes I know, Honorable King, that the DA is always suspicious. The ANC wants to centralize everything. And now we want to see things in terms of a province and a national, even where there's no need to see things that way. A master skills plan will have to live in every workplace in the country, in every district, in every municipality, in every province. It will actually have in every region. In fact, the master skills plan should act to assist regions, localities to develop their own plans. In fact, we hope it will even provide methodology to develop skills plans for big government projects. For instance, we had already developed a skills plan for the government's infrastructure program. The sector industrial plans or projects, the SIPs, we actually had skills plans for SIPs. So we hope that this thing will be dynamic and be able to live and be used in that way. That's why we are even talking about iterations, different versions at different times. Now, I think, Honorable, let's say I've answered your question that we hope to present this to Cabinet within 3 months after the end of the financial year, when we've produced the first iteration. That then we are going to be able to take it to Cabinet and then go out thereafter, to say, this is what we think actually should be the skills plan. As I say, it may not be perfect, but as long as it will be something that begins to bring together one picture of skill supply and demand in the country. That's what it would actually be trying to do, amongst other things. I think the issue about getting the SETAs into play on this is important. But we also have got to get our universities into this. We've also got to get our TVET colleges into this, guided by the master skills plan. Honorable Mahlatsi, I think that also your issue has been responded to. Your question, what do we want to achieve? I think that perhaps I've answered this, that what we do not have at the moment, we have a lot of sector skills plans, linked, or even industrial plans, skills plans, linked to particular industries or sectors, and so on. We want to have an overarching picture. We want to be able to answer the question, how many civil engineers does South Africa need this year, for instance? How many do we have? How many do we need? How many do we have who are at university? How many do we have who are doing their professional training? When will they finish? And so on. That's what a master skills plan should be able to give you an indication of what is it that we're actually talking about. Those are some of the things that we will be wanting to achieve. There will always be sectoral skills plans. There will always be regional skills plans. We should encourage that. The most important thing is that we should be having this overarching master skills plan, one country, one plan, that will actually be able to be a reference point to everybody, which will also allow government to blend better, which will allow certain industries, and companies to actually blend better. I hope that this chair takes us to the end of our presentation then with the answer to this question. So the one last thing I forgot to mention, it's because I had hoped the teacher was going to say something. You raised something about our relationship with the National School of Government. We have got a very good relationship with the National School of Government. There's still a lot more, by the way, that we want to do together with the National School of Government. We work very well with Mr. Zawedi, who actually is heading that. We've even had joint activities and actions. One of the programs we've had together between the head of the National School of Government, led by him and our Director General, Dr. Sishi, was on the issue of recognition of prior learning. Skills and knowledge acquired through practice and experience, and how does that get recognized and accredited in the civil service? Recognition of prior learning actually is a key component of post-school education and training, which we want to see everywhere. And we've agreed that in the public service has somewhat been remaining behind about properly appreciating and making use of recognition of prior learning in order to be able to recognize skills that people have that may not be been acquired through formal institutions, but through practice, and be able to measure them. And we regard the National School of Government as very important. Also, by the way, part of the relationship is inevitable. The head of the National School of Government was telling me just yesterday at the sidelines of the cabinet, Lekota, that they are in the process of accrediting through SAQA some of their qualifications that they are developing in the National School of Government, so that when you get trained as a civil servant, you also get credit for what we've been trained, which you can be able to transfer if you want to continue in a university or in a TVET college. That also can get recognized. So inevitably, in any case, there should be a close relationship between the National School of Government and ourselves. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and to honorable members for this opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you very much to the DG and to the DDGs. Mr. Mkiba, also thank you to yourself for assisting there in the background. Thank you very much, colleagues. I think, firstly, there is general excitement within the Portfolio Committee regarding this Master Skills Plan. and what it could do for our country in terms of ensuring that our country has the requisite skills for us to see the type of socioeconomic development that could result in, the bettering of livelihoods of citizens and in their self-liberation. And so we will be closely monitoring the work of the department in finalizing, or as they work on this master skills plan and finalizing it to the moment of which we can then have it as this guiding document, this overarching guiding document for government, for spheres of government, for industry, and for all of us. Minister, you've also alluded to young people who are prospective students. You always say that our sector is responsible for everyone post school, and so that I hope will be this document. I hope will be a guiding document to all of us as we leave school and enter various spheres of our country. And so thank you very much, Minister, for the presentation. I think there will be a need for us to follow up on discussions around legislation. There are, I think, a few concerns, but maybe we should find a way, Anele, for us to have a working, a meeting where we can just maybe through MANCO to have engagements with the ministry and the department, and then be able to come back to members, particularly responding to one of the concerns raised by Honorable Mahlatsi. Colleagues, on Friday we will meet again to engage on climate change. The Portfolio Committee on Environment is not available because they have been busy with this climate change bill. And so they have sent their apology for Friday. However, we will continue with the briefing briefed by the Department of Science and Innovation. Please, another reminder for next week, Wednesday, we will be engaging with the University of Pretoria on their progress in terms of transformation. It's a long-standing, we've been wanting to have this conversation for a very long time. And colleagues are reminded that it is a physical meeting, and you will be expected to be in Parliament physically. So those are just a few reminders to members, and I think that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you so much, Minister, and to your colleagues. Thank you very much, honourable members. We will see each other on Friday. Or while in the chambers now, as we will be dealing with questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, honourable members.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
And to everyone.
Welcome back. Yes.
Thank you very much.
You've got a nice background there.
Yes, that's where the power lies, Honorable, let's say.
Recording stopped.
We don't see this power, we only hear about it.